Now, the reason I come to schools like this, I want to tell you all something. See, in my opinion, a lot of you in this room have been lied to. And when you get lied to all the time, what happens to some kids? They get mad, and they start believing the garbage. Do you guys know our prisons are overflowing with inmates that believe the garbage they were told when they were younger? That's why a lot of them are inmates right now. They believed what they heard about themselves. So my mission, when I come to a school like this, I come here for two reasons. Number one, I want to challenge your belief systems about drugs and alcohol. You ever notice how many kids in America today walk around thinking drugs and alcohol are cool? Who would teach a kid that kind of garbage? You got parents, you got grandparents, but mostly you got TV. Have you ever noticed how TV glamorizes and glorifies drugs and alcohol? You've all seen the commercials, Miller, Budweiser, Coors, all those hot-looking women, huh, man? They got all those hot-looking boys. She's sitting there drooling, thinking about it. And then, they don't stop there. Got all those hot-looking little froggies and lizards. How many of you in this room ever seen a cop show on TV where they actually have drug dealers and gangbangers? You've all seen them, right? Let me ask you a question. What does every drug dealer, gangbanger look like on TV? They all look like, well, they all look like Superfly. They're either black or Latino, right? Think about this. They are portrayed by our heroes, Ice Cube, Ice-T, 50 Cent, Vanilla Fudge. They're driving around in their brand new Mercedes, Cadillacs, Lincolns, SUVs. You ever see one driving an 85 Volkswagen? No. They all got lots of money and power. Lots of money, respect. Lots of money and love. What's the American dream? Money. I mean, everybody wants to be rich, right? It's too bad nobody teaches kids your age, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, the reality of drugs and alcohol. You know, I specialize in drug alcohol treatment centers. I've been to over 400 of them in the last 10 years. I've been to the best ones in the world, like the Hazelton Foundation out of Minnesota, Betty Ford Foundation, Sierra Tucson. You kids got to hear this. People actually spend $1,000 up to $5,000 a day trying to break their addiction of drugs and alcohol. Minimum stay is between 28 and 31 days. So these people are spending between $30,000 and $150,000 in one stinking month trying to break their addictions. You know what the counselors told me? And these are the best counselors in the world. These are the elite. They told me once you hit the age of 40, and you've been messing around cocaine, heroin, or crystal meth for a long period of time, your chance of beating those addictions, 1 out of 100. So in other words, 99 out of 100 junkies die young. Average age of a junkie in America today is 40. Most people last till 75, 80. It's a pretty young death, isn't it? Hey, let's talk about the drunks for a minute. So I'm sure a lot of you in this room know a few alcoholics. They told me if you've been drinking heavily for 15, 20 years, that ain't long. You know, you start off when you're 18, 19, 20 years of age. At the age of 40, you think you want to quit? Your chance of quitting alcohol become 3 out of 100. They said if you take 36 drunks, put them in a small room, 34 will die young from alcohol-related disease. Their heart will give out, their liver, their kidneys. One will end up in a mental institution, and one of them might recover. You want to know something? I don't believe it's that low. I've been around drunks my whole life. I believe maybe 1 out of 75 ever truly recover. And you know why? We have a thing called dopamine in our brain. It's what brings us joy. Not if any of you in this room ever watched an alcoholic or junkie die, but man, it's a slow, painful, ugly, nasty death. My father died from it. My mother died from complications. Last year, I had 3 more of my friends die. One was only 42 years old. A year before he died, I ran into him on the streets of Minneapolis, and I said to him, why don't you slow down and think about your family? He looked at me and said, why don't you mind your own business? I can quit anytime I want. You ever notice all the drunks and potheads say that? You ever notice that among your friends? Especially the teenagers? You know, my friend died. He left 3 beautiful daughters behind. One was 14, one was only 11, and one was only 8. And I'll tell you kids straight up, those daughters didn't deserve it. They didn't deserve to be left behind without a daddy at that young age. They didn't deserve to be brought up by a drunk. You know what the 14-year-old daughter's doing right now? She's getting high, drinking 5, 6 days a week. Anybody here want to guess why? Like father, like son, like mother, like daughter. You know what she told me? She told me she's depressed. Drugs and alcohol make her feel better. Well, they do, don't they? A glass of beer gets you tipsy. A joint, depending on how good it is, huh, man? Homegrown or some good ganji? Good ganji, one hit, and bam, we're in Twilight Zone, huh? The problem with drugs and alcohol is the addiction is such a monster to stop. Anybody here want to take a guess what the average age most addicts become addicted at? When do people think it happens? 16 is a good guess. 14 is a better guess. It's between 12 and 16, so 14, 15 being the average age. You want to hear something scary? 50% of the kids get addicted as teenagers, die young. Another 25% lead very hard, miserable lives. Only a few of them turn their lives around. Would y'all be willing to be honest with me for 5 minutes? Can y'all do that? Anybody in this audience not willing to be honest? Well, it depends what I ask, right? All right, I just want to show you people something, all right? And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Now, when I do this exercise, I do it out of respect, so please no laughing. How many in this room have ever had a father, mother, brother, sister, grandparent, maybe your favorite aunt, uncle, somebody close to you, niece, nephew? How many in this room ever had a loved one who's died from drug or alcohol abuse? Would you please stand up, please, for 1 minute, please? Please, come on, stand up. Please. No, come stand up, please. Now, you people standing, keep standing. We're going to get a bunch of people joining you in a minute. You people sitting, give the people standing a round of applause for being real. Now, keep standing, keep standing. I'll go through this real quick. How many in this room, now y'all told me to be honest, right? The thing I know about teenagers is when you give your word, it's good. So here's the next question. How many in this room have had a loved one who's been in jail or is in jail right now because of drug or alcohol abuse? Would you also please stand up? Look around. Look around. Look around. How many in this room have had a loved one, you know, father, mother, brother, sister, grandparent, aunt, uncle, niece, nephew, who's ever lost a job because of drug or alcohol abuse? Would you also stand up? Raise your hand if it's happened in your families. If you've been standing, keep standing. Keep standing. How many in this room have had a loved one, again, father, mother, brother, sister, grandparent, aunt, uncle, niece, nephew, who's ever been separated or divorced because of drug or alcohol abuse? Would you please stand up? Raise your hand if it's happened in your families. How many in this room have ever seen violence at home or while you're dating somebody because of drug or alcohol abuse? Would you please stand up? Raise your hand if it's happened in your families. How many in this room have had a loved one who's ever been in a bad car accident and has been badly hurt or hurt others because of drug or alcohol abuse? Would you please stand up? Raise your hand if it's happened in your families. And my last question, anybody sitting yet? One, couple people, 2 people, 3, 4 people. Last question. How many in this room have ever had a close friend of yours? May not have been your best friend, but a close friend of yours died, been in jail, been beaten down on, commit suicide, been in a car accident because of drug or alcohol abuse. Would you please stand? Raise your hand if it's happened to a friend. Now look around. You'll never see this exercise on TV. They'll never show you the pain, the ugliness, nor the See, what TV does is they lie to you kids. Now, if you're sitting down right now, 3 things are happening for you kids that are sitting down. Number 1, you don't understand English. Number 2, you're lying and in denial. Or number 3, which I believe to be true, for anybody sitting right now, and there's only a couple of you, do you know how really, 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 really lucky and blessed you are? Look around. You're the lucky ones. Everybody give everybody else a round of applause, and please sit down. Now, how many of you in this room have ever watched a baseball, football, basketball, soccer, or a hockey game on TV? You all see them? Next time you watch a game on TV, do yourselves a favor. Grab every family member you got, especially those young ones, and watch that game. They only last 2 to 3 hours, right? But what I want you to do next time, I want you to count every commercial you see of Miller, Budweiser, Coors, those rum commercials, all those hot women on the islands. You know what I'm talking about, man? Yeah. Count the commercial. Anybody here want to take a guess how many you're going to count during one game? What do you think? About, on the average, 15 to 20 of them. And every commercial you see, you'll see men jumping over mountains, those Coors commercials. You see the hottest women in the world. Everybody's having fun. Could you imagine every time you watch a game on TV, you saw 15 commercials, your friends dying? Every time you watch a game on TV, you watch your daddy beating your mommy or your sister or your brother or you senseless. Every time you watch a game on TV, you watch your best friends going in and out of jail or watching them get in bad car accidents, being paralyzed. What would happen if they showed you kids reality? They'd go bankrupt after a while. Most people quit drinking their products. So what these companies got to do, they got to lie, they got to seduce you, and they got to brainwash you. That's what they do. And the problem with these lies is they're getting worse than ever. I mean, how many in this room ever heard that a glass of red wine is good for you a day? Who do you think makes up that garbage? You find the same ingredients in red wine that you would in grape juice. One's fermented, one ain't. One is good for you, one you're nothing but a brown paper bag wino drunk. Do you think these alcohol companies care about you kids? They think you're a bunch of chumps. You think tobacco companies care about you all? Do you honestly think your local drug dealer cares about you, your family? I mean, you mean nothing. What I'm sick of is the lies. I'm sick of going to school seeing kids 13, 14, 15 years old strung out. I'm sick of seeing kids homeless. I'm sick of seeing kids black and blue because their parents are drunk the night before, aren't you? I'm sick of the lies. But the biggest reason I come to schools like this, I want to challenge your belief systems of who you think you are. Because that's the problem we have in America. You ever notice how many kids in America today walk around thinking they're better than other kids? We call them the snobs. You ever notice how many kids walk around thinking they're less than other kids? I have never met a kid in my life that was better than or less than another kid. I don't care what the color of your skin. I don't care how rich or poor you are. It means nothing. We're all the same, aren't we? Hey, you ever notice how many kids walk around thinking they're stupid or dumb? You know, I've never met a dumb kid in my whole life. Do you people realize there is no such thing as a dumb child? Now, I meet lots of kids that learn different, like me. I learn different than most kids do. See, if I sit in a classroom with a teacher, and no disrespect to these teachers, they're my heroes, but they can talk to me until they're blue in the face, and by the next day, I'll forget everything they said to me. Like if this young lady here told me how to get from Milwaukee to Chicago, I'll end up in Minneapolis. Because unless I write it down, I will forget. If this young lady here said, Ron, go 3 blocks, make a right-hand turn, go another block, make a left-hand turn, by her third instructions, I'll forget them all. Does that make me stupid or dumb? It means I learned different, right? See, when I was a small boy, I would have been labeled ADD. Anybody here know what that stands for? Attention Deficit Disorder. I have that, can you tell? And I'm really proud of it. See, in my opinion, most kids with ADD are just as brilliant as anybody else. I worked with a lot of kids with ADD. Within 2 years, they're making $100,000, $200,000 a year. Best salespeople I've ever met in my whole life are ADD. They outsell everybody else 4 to 5 to 1. Best business owners I've ever met in my life are ADD. You give these people something they love to do, they won't stop. Want to hear a secret? Most millionaires in America today are ADD. Bet y'all wish you were, huh? Most of you are, huh? Best artists I've ever seen in my life are ADD. Anybody here want to take a guess where most of the great artists are today? Go to prison. You will find the best art in the world in prison. And yet those prisoners are so beaten down, they don't even know who they are anymore. See, I knew I was different when I was in kindergarten. Y'all remember kindergarten? Yeah. I used to go up to teachers at nap time and say, hey, can I go outside and play a little bit? And they'd look at me and go, no, little Ronnie, it's time for a nap. And I look at it and go, well, I ain't tired. May I please go outside and play? I'm all excited, right? And they look at me and go, little Ronnie, go grab your little blanket and go lay down. You'll fall asleep. I ain't tired. So they locked me in a closet. I used to go up to teachers 4 or 5 times in 1 hour, ask them to go to the bathroom. I used to love to wander the hallways when I was a kid. I get bored easily. How many in this room get bored easily? Do you know that's a good thing? It means your brains are working. Now let me ask you all a question. You should all know this answer. If you have 20 kids in a middle school classroom, and 2 kids are disrupting the classroom, what happens to the 2 kids? They get in trouble, right? They get sent down in the office, usually. Don't blame the teachers. If I had 20 kids in my classroom and 2 of them be disrupting it all the time, I'd have a hard time with those 2 kids. But you know what I would do? I'd get rid of the 18 and keep those 2, because they're a lot like me. Those normal kids drive me nuts. See, when I was a small boy, I would have been labeled ADD, ADHD, EBD, CD, LD, had VD 3 times. Bad sex, you know what I'm talking about, man? Yeah. I cannot believe we still label kids so stupidly, can you? I can't believe it. See, when I was ADD, you know what they told me? I was attention deficit disordered. ADHD, now they're telling me I'm hyper disordered. I'm very hyper, ain't I? EBD is my favorite one. Now they're telling me I'm emotionally, behaviorally disturbed. Like I just got out of mental institution yesterday. And have you noticed every 2 years they come out with a new one? 4 years ago, everybody is bipolar. 2 years ago, everybody's OBD. Sounds like Star Wars, doesn't it? Oppositional, behavioral, defiant. I wonder what it is this year. What we should do, the reason we label kids, you guys should know this, is for insurance purposes. But man, we are hurting kids by labeling them so stupidly. What we should do is label all kids the same. BBN. Anybody here know what BBN stands for? It means brilliance beyond normal. See, every one of you kids in this room are smart. You know, there's not one kid in this room dumber than anybody in this world. There's not one of you kids in this room smarter than anybody else. We all have strengths. We all have weaknesses, right? My weakness in life, give me a computer. I'll show you how to smash that little sucker in 1 hour. I hate those things. But yeah, I do. But yet I can take any company and I can turn it around within 1 year. I can outsell anybody anytime if I believe in a product. You all have that. You know what they found out recently in America? I'm so proud of them. In the educational system, you know what they found out? They found out that in America today, 1 out of every 5 kids learn by listening to teachers. Do you hear me? 1 out of 5 kids learn by listening. Let me ask you all a question. How do a lot of teachers teach in elementary school? They yak, 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 right? Now, A students learn that way. That's why they're A students. Do you know an A student can listen to a teacher, repeat what their teacher says the next day? B students learn by listening to teachers. C students, you got to bust your butt to get a C, don't you? I mean, people that get B's and A's have to really study hard too, don't get me wrong, but not half as hard as a C student. D students, you're giving up. F students, you haven't listened to a frickin' word they've said the last 5 years, huh? You know, I find the kids that struggle the most in school among the smartest ones, so how can that be? They said Einstein was an idiot. They said he was a moron, he had dyslexia. Can you imagine giving Albert Einstein some Ritalin? All I'm saying to you kids is I find the kids that struggle the most among the smartest. They just learn different. So if you're struggling in your classroom, you guys got the best teachers in this school. I've been coming back to this school for the last 9-10 years, and this staff here is among the best I've ever seen. Talk to your teachers. You know, when I come to school like this, I always say one prayer. And as every one of you young brothers and sisters, remember your hopes and dreams. Because if you remember your hope and dream, you know what happens? They come true. I mean, you got to bust your butt. You have to stay away from drugs and alcohol. But I make you a promise. You remember your hopes and dreams, it'll happen for you. Now, if you don't remember your hope and dream, tonight when you go to bed, make up a new one. You deserve it. Now, there are 3 dream killers in America today. 3 things that'll kill your dream. Number 1, for teenagers, what do you think it is? Drugs and alcohol. You get addicted to that garbage, your life gets ugly really fast. Number 2, hanging around with negative people. Well, what the heck's a negative person? Somebody bad-mouthing you, somebody making fun of you, somebody telling you can't accomplish something. Guys, want to hear something weird? 85% of kids come out of jail, go back in the first year. Number 1 reason they come out of jail, they hang out with the same fools. Same thing with drug and alcohol treatment centers. The reason people relapse constantly is they come out of those places and they hang out with the same fools. Every time I go to a prison, I go to prisons once a week, I tell the inmates, you want to do something different when you get out of here? Change your friends. It'd be the hardest choice you'll ever make. Be the best choice you'll ever make. It's the only way you'll escape this. 3rd dream killer, I want you all to hear this, happens to most kids when they're really, really young. It doesn't happen when we're teenagers. Happens when we're young. Is when I see a kid that quits believing in themselves. Why would any kid quit believing in themselves for? Man, there's a lot of reasons, but there's 3 main reasons nobody wants to talk about. They've been sexually abused. Who wants to talk about rape? They've been physically abused. And the number 1 killer among kids when they're really, really young, remember kindergarten, is the verbal abuse. See, every time one of you people in this room call another kid a name, it's like taking a razor blade or a knife and slashing their spirits a little bit more. Don't you get you're hurting that person? My name's Ron Glodoski. I'm from Milwaukee. How y'all doing? 18 years ago, I left Milwaukee, moved to a place called Moose Lake, Minnesota. It's between Minneapolis and Duluth. And the reason I left Milwaukee, if I would have stayed there, I would have ended up dead. I'm a former gang leader in Milwaukee. Wow, white boy, huh? I'm also a former drug kingpin or drug lord. That's what the DEA, FBI, Milwaukee, Chicago, Minneapolis, Waukesha, Wausau, Racine, Kenosha police departments labeled me as for about 15 years. Scary in that front row, huh? She's sitting there going, oh my God. I'm also, you guys will love this one, I'm also the former president of the Spinoza Teddy Bear Company. Now, a lot of people look at me like this girl and go, what's up with that? From a gangbanger to a drug kingpin to a teddy bear company. And I have to tell you all, I am more proud of that than anything I've done this lifetime. I started a teddy bear company about 20 years ago. There are two of us. It's a very cool teddy bear. His name's Spinoza. It's got a cassette player inside of him with 9 different tapes on self-esteem. It's used a lot in hospitals, nursing homes, elementary schools. When I started a company, there were two of us. 2 years ago in St. Paul, Minnesota, we had 35 employees. We did over $2 million of business a year. Pretty cool, huh? And the reason I brag about that, you've all heard the saying, cannot teach an old dog new tricks. Have you all heard that one? Well, I'm an old dog, I can be taught. It's another lie. You've all been taught, once a gangbanger, always a gangbanger, blood in, blood out. Once a drunk, always a drunk. Those are all lies. People can change anytime they want. It's a matter of choice. I don't care how old or young you are. Don't care what the color of your skin is. If you want to change, you can change. Now, I'm not a fool. I'm not saying change is easy. It took me 5 years to turn my life around. See, when I moved from Milwaukee up to Moose Lake, Minnesota, I started hanging around with the geeks. To me, the geeks were the ones in school, you know, the jocks, the cheerleaders, straight-A students. They were weird people to me. You know, and as I got older, they became teachers, counselors, all these staff members here. They were weird people to me when I grew up. But as I noticed something, the more I started hanging around with these people, the more I became like them. See, my mother always taught me who you hang with is who you are. You hang with a gangbanger, you become one, right? Hang with a pothead, hang with a drunk, hang around somebody negative, it will rub off on you. Well, the opposite is also true. You hang around somebody positive, it'll rub off on you. See, who you hang with is who you are. You know, when I moved from Milwaukee up to Moose Lake, Minnesota, I started hanging around with teachers, counselors, a lot of nurses. I love nurses. Well, instead of giving me drugs and alcohol, they gave me encouragement, empowerment, and hope. After 5 years of hanging around with these people, you know what happened to me? I became the biggest geek of all. To me, a geek is anybody that's drug-free, minimum 2-3 years. I've been drug-free now. I'm celebrating my 24th year this year. Pretty cool, huh? Come on, give it up. I am so proud of being a geek. You know, somebody asked me if I want to get high, I get to look at that person and say, why on earth would you want me to damage my brain for, man? Get out of my face. Hard to say no to friends, isn't it? You know, we make over 1,000 choices a day. Hardest choice I've ever made in my life was dropping my negative friends. Best choice I've ever made in my life was dropping my negative friends. Out of 20 of my closest friends from years ago, today 17 of them are dead. 2 are doing life prison sentences. See, I used to ride with a gang called the Outlaws. Well, if I would have kept riding with the Outlaws, I know I would have ended up dead with them. Hardest choice I've ever made in my life was dropping my colors. Best choice I've ever made in my life was dropping my colors. One of the hardest choices I've also made in my life is going drug-free. It was a 5-year struggle for me. One of the best choices is going drug-free. Now, we make over 1,000 choices a day. The problem with choices, see, when we're young, we don't have a choice. Not like we have once we're a teenager. Because do you guys realize once you're a teenager, everything in your life is a choice, but except for dying or illness? But by then, for so many kids, it's too late. Because see, when we're young, we don't have those same choices. I'll give you some examples. If you were sexually abused when you were younger, I've never met a boy or girl in my entire life that wanted to be sexually abused. Have you? And yet here in America, 1 out of every 3 girls are sexually abused by the time they're 18. We got a big sickness going around. Never met a kid in my life, think about this, that wanted to be beaten by a loved one, whether it be the father, mother, grandparent, you know, the hose, an extension cord, a fist, a belt. As a matter of fact, I have never met a kid in my life that wants to be called a name. But as we get older, we have choice, don't we? Like when I was 12 years old, I ran away from home. I got so sick of the beatings all the time, I split. You called me a name when I was a teenager, I would have chose a punch in the face. Because you call me a name, it's coming back. And as we get older, everything's a choice. I'll give you some examples. This morning, every one of you in this room woke up this morning, and you all chose to come to school. Could have been at home watching videos acting like you're sick, right? Could have been out getting high someplace or at a mall shopping. But every one of you chose to be here today. You want to know something? Every one of you made an excellent choice. You made it. Give yourselves a round of applause. Great choice. You know another choice you all made this morning? I bet every one of you in this room woke up this morning, and I bet every one of you chose to brush your teeth. At least I sure hope so for the person sitting next to you or having a hard time with your nasty breath. Look at your hairstyles. Every one of you in this room have a different hairstyle. Some are long, some are short. Some of you washed your hair this morning. Some of you haven't done it for a couple years. Who you're sitting next to right now is by choice. Do you know the clothes on your back is by choice? You know some of you in this room are wearing underwear, some of you are not? Now, can you tell who's not wearing underwear? I can spot them a mile away. You know how? They're the happy ones. All right, I'm joking. I'm just joking. But kids, everything in your life at your age is a choice. You do good in school, choice. Do lousy in school, choice. Who you hang with is a choice. Do you know your attitude, your mood is a choice? You ever know some kids walk around in bad mood all the time? Usually it's the same old kids. You ever notice a lot of adults walk around stinking bad mood a lot? Let me ask you all a question. How many of you, when you come to school, honestly, how many of you give school 100%? You know what's really weird? I go to an elementary school. I ask kids in elementary school, in kindergarten, first grade, how many of you give 100%? You know what happens? Every one of them jump up. I do. They're all excited, right? And when I go to a high school, Washington, wherever I go, Marshall, Custer, all the old schools, and I ask the kids, how many of you give 100%? You know what happens? 5% of them raise their hand on a good day. I go, how many of you give school 75%? About 55% of kids raise their hand. I go, how many of you give school 50%? And I'm not kidding you, 25% of kids raise their hand. Am I right, sir, about? I go, how many of you give school 25% or less? And about 10%, 15% of kids raise their hand. So my question becomes this: what the heck happened? Oh, you thought I was going to say something else, huh? What happened? Why do kids care so much when they're young? But by high school, for some kids, it fades. I'm going to tell you my personal story, because in my opinion, this is what happens to a lot of those kids that are not aware of it. See, when I was in kindergarten, I gave 100%. I was excited about school. By the time I got to first grade, I gave 75%. I was beaten a lot when I was a kid, not only from my parents, but from other kids. By the time I got to sixth grade, I gave 50%. Sound familiar? By the time I got to ninth grade, I gave 25%. Man, by the time I got to 11th, 12th grade, I gave school 5%. The only reason I went to school, bothered going, is my parole officer made me. I had a choice, school or jail. And I thought, well, school's better than nothing. But man, I hated school, hated most kids, teachers, counselors. Most of all, I hated myself. I thought life stunk every single day. Hard for me to get up in the morning. How many in this room think that life stinks once in a while? That's a normal question, right? How many of you in this room think that life stinks all the time? Thanks for being honest. How many of you in this room have been told by your loved ones, your father, mother, brother, sister, your grandparents, that you're really, really special? How many of you have been told by your loved ones, again, your father, mother, brother, sister, your grandparents, that you're lazy, stupid, worthless, no good tramp? They wish they even have your little butt. How many in this room have ever teased another kid? Man, get both your hands up and quit lying. How many of you have ever been teased by another kid? And my last question for right now, sounds like a silly, stupid, dumb question, but it's real. How many in this room, when your loved ones told you that you're lazy or stupid or worthless or that you're a mistake, how many of you started believing it to be true? Now, all you kids that are raising your hands up, I want to thank you all for being honest. The rest of you little liars, 4 things are happening. Number one, some of you don't understand my question, huh? I talk so fast, sound like I'm from New Jersey, and I sound pretty weird, don't I? Girl here says, I haven't understood a word you've said so far. Hey, kids, what I'm going to tell you right now is the sickest part of my program. I hate this part. The reason I'm going to mention this to y'all, if this ever happened to one of you, I want you to know starting today you're not alone, okay? And please, please, please get some help. See, our problems don't go away by keeping them inside. That's why so many adults are so angry as they get older. In America, this beautiful, beautiful country of ours, 1 out of every 3 girls are sexually abused by the time they're 18. Now, I know what y'all thinking, that doesn't happen around here. It does happen, man. And you want to hear something sick? Those are the ones that report it. In America, 1 out of every 6 boys are sexually abused by the time they're 18. In America, do you realize 50% of the kids, 50% of the boys in this country have been beaten by a loved one, would be their father, mother, grandparents, and I ain't talking a spanking. Big difference between a beating and a spanking, isn't there? If you've been beaten, you know what I'm talking about. I was at a school about 4 years ago, and a kid in 4th grade walked up to me. He lifted his shirt up, and his back looked like a road map. Every time the mother got mad at this poor little boy, she took out an extension cord and beat this kid like you wouldn't believe. He had old scars on his back, new scars, cigarette burns. And the school was wondering why this boy was such a bully. He begged me not to tell nobody. You know why? He didn't want to end up in a foster home. In America, 1 out of every 3 girls are beaten by loved ones. And you girls got to be careful, man. Happens a lot when you start dating the boys. And you know what I hear from the girls once in a while? They deserved it. They said or did something wrong. Girls, let me tell you something. If you ever date a boy and they slap you one flipping time, You get rid of it sorry, but fast. All right? Don't you ever allow a boy to put his hands on you in that way. Now, I know some of you girls in this room have seen your mothers getting beat. That ain't normal. If you date a boy and they slap you, get rid of the bum. Okay? But the worst thing that happens to kids, in my opinion, because we're so full of denial in America, is the verbal abuse. Do you realize verbal abuse in this country is out of control? You know, America is one of the few countries in the whole world that tolerate verbal abuse. Man, we don't tolerate it here. You know what we do in America? We celebrate verbal abuse. You know, every one of you people in this room were programmed like little robots by the time you're 4 or 5 years old that name calling is a joke. I'll prove it to you. How many in this room ever heard of that silly? No, let me change that, all right? How many in this room ever heard of that stupid, ugly, sick, worthless, ignorant, insane nursery rhyme called "Sticks and stones can break our bones"? But how many ever heard of that one? Yeah, I don't know who came up with that dumb nursery rhyme, but that person's caused more death in this country than World War II did. You know, last year in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, 10 kids committed suicide. Elk River, Minnesota, about 12 kids commit suicide a year. Milwaukee, close to 200. You know what they should teach kids instead of lying to them? Why don't we teach kids sticks and stones can break our bones, but the power of a word can end up destroying your spirit, end up destroying your soul. Man, that can make you stop caring about life by the time you're in kindergarten. See, to me, verbal abuse is worse than physical abuse. I took a lot of butt whippings when I was a kid. They heal after a while. Names don't. You know, I go to jails a lot. I was out in Colorado a few years ago. 12-year-old girl sitting in jail. Smallest girl I've ever seen in jail. She came up to my waist. I walked up to her. I said, "Hey, what are you in jail for?" And she looked at me. She said, "Murder." 12 years of age. I asked her what happened, and she looked at me. She said, "I was on a school bus, and a 16-year-old boy every day would harass me. He'd call me stupid. He'd call me worthless. He asked me if I want to get high. I'd tell him no. He'd call me a loser. Well, one day he called me a dumb slut once too often, and I snapped. I reached in my knapsack. I grabbed a knife. I went to stab him in the shoulder, shut him up. He moved suddenly, and I put it through his heart by mistake." You've all heard of Columbine, haven't you? Those 2 kids killed those 13? You know, that was not an accident. I was out there the week that happened. Those 2 kids were being picked on from the jocks of that school daily until they finally snapped. Last year in Red Lake, Minnesota, a 13-year-old Indian boy walked to school. He killed 7 classmates, killed his teacher, killed a security guard, killed both grandparents, and then he put a gun in his mouth and blew himself away. Anybody know why that happened? He was being bullied way too much. He snapped. Last year in Oklahoma, a 15-year-old boy stabbed a 17-year-old boy 5 times in the neck on a school bus with a butcher knife. Killed him instantly. You know why he did that? He snapped. My question for all you in this room, what do you do when you see one of your best friends call somebody a name? You think it's cool? You laugh about it? You tell them to knock it off. You know, there are some kids that have this thing called a code of silence. They don't talk to nobody about it. Man, break that code. You see one of your friends messing up? You see one of your friends bullying a kid? Tell them to knock it off, man. Nobody likes that garbage. Get involved. I come from a family of 6. There's my mother, my father, me, and 3 brothers. I got 2.5 left right now. One of my brothers is 19 years old. He also joined the Outlaws. He made a choice, outrun a police department. He's going 90 miles an hour in his Harley Davidson. He made a right-hand turn, didn't make it fast enough, and he smashed into a bridge and died instantly. But back in the old days, there were 4 of us. And in our basement, we had a big pool of water, like a little well. One of my brothers was bending over, playing with a small boat in the water. And the older brother snuck up behind him with a pole. And while he was bending over, he took the pole and threw it at his butt, goofing around. I looked to see what they were doing, and a pole came, hit me in my left eye, and my eye came popping out of the socket. It was actually hanging by a thread. Now, they rushed me to the hospital, and they gave me 12 hours of surgery to put my eye back in. I don't remember this happened when I was 4 years old. Before the accident, I could walk, I could talk, I had normal self-esteem. After the accident, I don't remember no part of my life. For 2 years, I was unconscious. When I finally woke up, I was 6 years old, he put me in kindergarten. Now, what happened, when that pole hit my eye, it damaged my brain so bad I couldn't talk no more. So when I went to school, my brothers would have to come in the classroom and explain to the teachers what I was trying to say, or explain to other kids what I was trying to say. Because of that, a lot of kids started calling me stupid and dumb. A lot of kids started beating me up because I was different. You ever notice in this country nowadays, people beat up each other all the time for the color of their skin? I mean, if you're black, you end up in the wrong neighborhood, do you know you may get beat or shot because of it? 5 years ago in Texas, you remember this? They took a 23-year-old black dude, they put a rope around his head, and they dragged him behind a car for over 5 miles till they killed a brother. If you're white, go to Milwaukee's north side, like on 9th and Keefe, see how long you last tonight. You know what I'm saying? Go to Denver, go to Detroit. Do you know you might die being white in the wrong neighborhood? Do y'all know that? 10 years ago in Chicago, 11 white people got off the expressway. It was raining so hard, all 11 were shot in the head for being white. If you're Latino, if you're Native American, if you're Asian, you might die. Now, how stupid, how dumb is it when people hurt each other for the color of their skin? How dumb is it when I go to high schools, I see the gangbangers beating up on the jocks, or the jocks beating up on the straight-A students, or the druggies for being different? How dumb is it when I see the Latin kings killing Mexican posse, or the GDs wasting vice lords, or Bloods killing the Crips? How stupid is it when people hurt each other for being different? You know, when I was 6 years old, I was an innocent boy at one time, honestly. I used to go home from school every day crying. I never understood why kids call me names. Never understood why kids beat me up because I couldn't talk. By the time I got to first grade, I acted like it meant nothing. I'd be one of the kids who say, hey, sticks and stones can break my bones. Your names will never hurt me. Well, y'all know that's a flippin' lie, huh? By the time I got to second, third grade, I had a bad attitude. I was teacher's worst nightmare. I was a kid that sent out of the classroom every single day for misbehaving. I had my own little desk out in the hallway. I know some of you know what I'm talking about, huh? I'm the one sent to the principal's office 2-3 times a week for fighting. How many in this room, and I'm not talking TV, how many in this room ever seen violence at home? Look at the hands go up now. See, violence to me was every day part of my life. My father's a drunk, and so was my mother. And my dad got mad at us, depending on how drunk he was. Sometimes he would take his belt off and beat us on our backs with a belt buckle so our backs would bleed. He'd tell us daily how stupid, ignorant, and worthless we were. I remember one time my older brother Richie is 9 years old. He smarted off my father's kitchen table, and my father turned around and backhanded him, knocked out his 2 front teeth. I remember when he was 11 years old, the old man started beating on him, and that's the day I watched my brother's spirit die. He looked at my father and said, Dad, you want to kill me? Go on and kill me. Life means nothing anyway. Beat me all you want. Well, he'd go to school the next day. Some kids start teasing him. He'd hurt the kid pretty bad. Stabbed his first kid when he was 12 years old. Shot his first kid when he was 14. Same thing happened to me when I was 12 years old. You want to call me a name or make fun of me? Man, I didn't care if I lived or died. To me, life meant nothing. You think I'm going to care if I hurt you or not? How many in this room ever come close to snapping before? How many in this room are fed up with people dissing you, your family members? I mean, nobody likes the garbage. You know, when I was 12 years old, I ran away from home. I joined my first gang in Milwaukee's north side. There were 10 of us. The leader would have us out stealing cars, doing armed robberies, strong armed robberies. I was in and out of Milwaukee's detention center in jail 35 times in 2 years. And when I was 14 and a half years old, I was up in front of the judge for car theft, and he looked at me and said, this is your final warning. You go home and clean up your act, or we're going to put you in jail for 6 months. And I remember looking at my father that morning. I looked in his eyes, and I knew if I went home with him, I was going to get a beating of a lifetime. How many in this room ever seen a beating coming before it happens? Can I tell, can't you? I mean, when you're young, it terrifies you, remember? But as you get older, you become numb. I looked at my old lady. She's sitting there bawling. So I looked at the judge. I said, can I think about it for 1 minute? See, I was being honest. Part of me rather be in jail where it was safe. Part of me rather be on the streets. He thought I was being a punk, so he put me in jail for 6 months. Now, when I went to jail, I started fighting other gang members, so they transferred me 5 different times. Instead of doing 6 months, I did 15. When I finally got out, man, I was excited. First thing I did when I got out of jail was see my parole officer. That's mandatory. Second thing I did is I went out and stole another car. See, I needed a place to sleep that night. I decided when I was in jail, I'd never go home and get beaten again. I rejoined my gang. Instead of being a member, I became a leader. There were 4 of us. It was my job to recruit other kids in, and I was good at it. I always go to the middle school, high school, find those kids with that bad attitude problem. You know what I'm talking about? Our gang grew from 10 members to 90 members in 2 years. We had the largest car theft ring in Milwaukee. Anyway, when I was 17 and a half years old, one of the gangbangers got busted, ran on a bunch of us, so my parole officer gave me another choice. He said I can go back to jail, this time Green Bay Reformatory, the adult prison, or I could join the Army. Thought I did enough jail time, so I signed up for Vietnam. That's when the war was happening. You know, they actually declined me. They said I was too dangerous to fight. They allowed me to join the Army National Guard, where I was gone on weekends and home during the week so they could supervise me better. Got my first Harley Davidson. I started riding with the Heaven Devils and the Outlaws. Got married to my high school sweetheart. I have 3 boys. Got my first job at Briggs & Stratton. From there, I went to Coca-Cola and then Pabst Brewery. Now, I worked at Pabst for about 1.5 years when I got my first layoff, so I had another choice, find another job, join Amway Network Marketing Company. I know you teachers know that one real well. Or become a drug dealer. You know, when I was in 5th grade, I had my first cigarette. How many in this room have ever at least tried a cigarette? Can you remember the first time? I remember the first time I had a cigarette. I was sitting there with 4 other guys. One of them passed me one. I took my first drag, and I went like this. Ah! I thought I was going to flip and die. I got so dizzy, thought I'd puke over everybody, but you got to be cool in front of your friends, right? That's the hard part when you want to die, to be cool. Anyway, an hour later, I'm sitting there, and another guy passes me a cigarette. I thought, oh, my God, not another one. But I smoked it. Then I smoked another. Then I smoked another. I don't know if it's about being macho or trying to fit in or trying to be cool. Remember what it was for you? But you know, within 2 weeks, I was smoking a pack a day. I had to take my cigarettes before I got home in the evening. I hide them out in the bushes so my parents couldn't find them. I pray it wouldn't rain outside. Boy, what a stupid, ugly, nasty, rotten, expensive addiction, isn't it? And man, that's a hard habit to break. How many of you kids in this room right now have parents or grandparents that still smoke cigarettes? Look around. You think they want to? Man, it's a hard habit. Now, if you're smoking right now, quit while you're young. The older you get, the harder it becomes. If you've never tried one, don't. Now, there are two things good. You guys want to hear what's good about smoking? Because there are two things that are good about it. Number one, your breath smells like stuff, keeps people away. You have a cigarette, nobody wants to be near you, especially the opposite sex. And then secondly, the best thing of all, you spend all that money, you get to die young. I had my first cocktail in 6th grade. My father handed me my first beer. He said, here, son, drink up and be a man. How many in this room have ever been offered beer, wine, whiskey, or brandy from a parent, grandparent, or cousin? Look at this. Isn't that nuts? Isn't that insanity? I had my first cocktail in 6th grade. By 7th grade, I was drinking once a week. By 9th grade, I was drinking 2-3 times a week. By 11th grade, I had my own ritual. You know how most 11th graders, they go home in the evening and do the homework, right? Right? Then they go outside and they play a little bit, and right before bedtime, you all say your little prayers. For me, right before bedtime, I'd roll the biggest, fattest joint in the world. Sucker, it looked like a cigar. I'd have that joint sitting right next to my alarm clock. As soon as the alarm clock would go off, I'd raise my window 2-3 inches, my bedroom window, so my parents couldn't smell it. Then I'd take 3-4 hits off that joint. I'd say, all righty, yoo-hoo, time for some school. Then I'd take a shower, then I'd get dressed, and then I had those dang munchies, you know what I'm talking about, man? So I'd eat a big breakfast, and off to school I'd go. Well, usually on the way to school, I'd drop a hit of acid. That was my drug of choice. Because, man, acid would take me so far out there, I didn't even have to think. I'd get to school tripping my brains out and seeing colors, you know. Now, if I couldn't find any acid, then I'd take some Quaaludes, some mushrooms, some angel dust, hash oil, some speed, a little blow. I'd take any flipping drug, get my hands on. You know why? I thought life stunk. You know, when I first started to have my homeboys, I did it once a month to try it. All my friends were smoking marijuana back in the day. I wanted to see what they were talking about. Then I started doing every 3 weeks, every 2 weeks. I noticed something. Every time I was high or drinking, it takes the edge off, don't it? Every time I'm high or drinking, it takes the stress away. Makes me feel a little bit better. Every time I was straight or sober, life stunk. What do you think I started doing more of? I was getting high every day before school. Lunchtime, I'd be outside in the parking lot smoking a little doobie. Like some of you today. After school, I'd be getting high. Before bedtime. See, I never thought it would happen. Kids, I want you to hear this. I never thought it would happen to me. No teenager, no adult thinks it's going to happen to them. But I'm so good at hiding from my pain. What do drugs and alcohol do to us? They take us to an altered state. I mean, you smoke a little joint, and man, you're out there, aren't you? They take us to a different reality. Well, I was so good at hiding from my pain, when I was 15 years old, I was an alcoholic. 16, I was a junkie. Bought my first $1/4 pound of marijuana at 16 years old. Now I'll let you know how old I am, all right? I bought my first $1/4 pound for $100. Dang, can't even get an ounce of that price around here, huh, man? Unless it's some Mexican ragweed. Anyway, I'd flip 3 ounces to keep one myself to keep the habit going. I did that from the time I was 16 till I was 25 years old. And when I was 25 years old, the drug dealer across the street was saying, hey, Ron, with all the people you know, all the places you go, man, why don't you take this business serious? I could teach you how to take marijuana, how to cut it, how to add weight to it. Man, I could teach you how to spray different chemicals so it smells better and tastes better. We can take Mexican ragweed, make it look like Colombian gold. Same thing with cocaine. Take a pound of blow, smash it 5 times, add a little bit of speed, add a few chemicals, and make it look like diamonds and rocks. People never notice a difference. I'm sitting like, wow, I didn't know that, right? I don't have enough time to get into my whole drug life. But man, I did get heavily involved. Matter of fact, I went from a $1/4 pound to a pound or a kilo. You know, I started selling between 2,000 and 5,000 pounds of marijuana a week. I was getting it up from Florida, Texas, California. I had my own drug runners. Same thing with cocaine. I started off with a gram. From a gram, I went to an 8-ball. Then I got a $1/4 ounce. Then I got my first ounce. You know, in a couple of years of my life, there's some weeks I was flipping between 2 and 5 kilos cocaine. Some weeks between 2,000 and 5,000 pounds of marijuana. There were weeks I was making $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a week. Pretty cool, huh? But you ever notice drug dealers don't tell you about their losses, either do gangbangers? They never talk about their losses. I sent two brothers to Florida to pick up a couple kilos for me. Back in those days, they went for $45,000 a piece. I'd be excited waiting for them to come back home. 2 days later, I'd read the newspapers, find out they both ended up in the ocean with bullets in their head. Competition would take them out. Sometimes their best friends would take them out. Sometimes the cops or DA got lucky and they took them out. Not only would I lose $90,000 in 5 stinking minutes, I lose 2 of my best friends. I'd send somebody to Chicago to pick up something for me. They'd split with my money. Now, I could not call 911 and ask for help. Can you imagine that? Excuse me, officer, my friend just stole a couple $100. Help me find him. They don't do that. I had 2 bodyguards with me 24/7. I carried 2 guns with me at all times. A 9 Glock in my shoulder holster and a .380 in my boot. And I got to tell you kids something. I was terrified to leave my house. I never knew for sure when I'd get hit. See, my house is burglarized over 30 times, mostly from my friends. I've been shot at numerous times. I've been stabbed twice, I've been pistol whipped, and I've been left for dead. Now, one of my homies giving anybody in this audience an ounce of cocaine or some marijuana, and you didn't come back with the money, what do you think they're going to do to you next time they catch up to you? They're going to kill you. And if you leave town without paying your debt, anybody here know what happens next? Yeah, exactly. They don't look for you. They come after your family. And they kill your sister, your daughter, your son, your mother. They have to. That is the law of the street. Because if they don't do that, people above them take them out for being a sissy and a weak punk. How many in this room right now know somebody sitting in jail for drug-related charges? How did they get busted? Did I hear the word snitch? 99% of people sitting in prison were ratted on. You know why? You kids got to hear this. 3rd time you're caught dealing drugs once you're 18, you're going to prison for life. They consider you a 3-time habitual loser. Your 2nd time, you're spending 20 to 30 years hardcore. And your first offense, depending on the quality and quantity, you're going to spend a nickel, dime, 15. Now I'll get some fool walk up to me and say, that ain't true. My best friend's sitting in jail, and he was busted for 3 years, and he was busted 4 times. And I'll look him straight up in the face and say, your best friend's a snitch. The law is the law. You're not going to change the law. The only thing the cops allow you to do is rat. And you rat on somebody, they don't want one person. They want everyone you know, including all your best friends and family. And when you give up everybody you know, instead of doing 30, they offer you 3. But the cops won't tell you this part. When you go to jail, you better get on your hands and knees and beg the guards to put you in protective custody. Because if they don't, I'll make you a promise. You're going to get a shiv in your back or your throat slit the first week you're in jail. There's only 2 things adult inmates hate. They hate a child molester and they hate a snitch. If you're a snitch, you're dead man walking. Nobody talks about the violence. You know, I wrote this book, How to Be a Successful Criminal. Never met one. There is no such thing as a successful criminal. I met a lot of people who made big money. It's like Ice-T says in the back of the book, I can show you how to get rich in 9 months, but it ends in a funeral. I never met anybody that retired with their big house out in the countryside, their SUV in the driveway, and their dog Snoopy. It don't happen. Kids, you won't beat the system. You know, I had 400 customers buy from me at one time. Most of them were major players, but I had a lot of regular people. They'd come and buy a gram of cocaine or heroin or crystal meth or marijuana once a month. Then they come every 3 weeks, every 2. You know how many people I would watch go down the toilet like a bad cigarette habit? You guys ever notice drugs and alcohol don't discriminate? I had black people buy from me, white, yellow, red. I even had those little green people when I was high. They came from all back. You know, most of my clients were professionals. They were farmers, factory workers, teachers, counselors, nurses, doctors, attorneys. I even had a U.S. senator buy from me. They come once a month and every 3 weeks, every 2. You know how many people come to the house, honest to God, they'd give me their paycheck, they'd sign it over, and they'd have a wife and 3 kids starving at home. They had me their whole paycheck. They'd have a husband, 2, 3 kids starving at home. How many in this room know people like that? They spend every dime they have on drugs and alcohol and nothing on their own families. Same stupid thing happened to me. I started doing cocaine once a month and every 3 weeks, every 2 weeks. When I was at the height of my career, I was snorting 2,000 ounces of cocaine up my nose a week. It got so bad that one day I went to blow my nose and my whole right side here caved in on me. You see this side here? It's gone. I can't breathe. I haven't breathed for 20 years out of this side. So now I started using the veins in my arms, shooting it up. You can see where I've been operated on. And then I used this arm. Then I used my legs and feet. I had 2 friends of mine from Detroit, Michigan. They used every vein in their body shooting it up, and they finally ended up using their eyeballs. See, nobody plans on dying. Nobody plans on being a drunk. Nobody plans on being a pothead, kids. No one plans on not feeding their families. Think about that. It's an addiction. When I was 33 years old, I put a gun in my mouth one night to do myself in, and right before I pulled the trigger, I remember a friend of mine got out of the business. I called him up and said, Michael, how you stop? How do you get out of this? He goes, Ron, the first thing you have to do is find out why you're so violent, why you hate life. Go see a therapist. I thought, well, I ain't that sick. You're going to go to my mouth. I went to therapy for 3 long years. You know what I found out? My problem started for me when I was 6 years old. See, when people call me stupid and dumb, when they told me I was worthless, I started believing it. Most kids do. I was 33 years old when I changed my opinion about myself. I was a lucky one. Out of 20 of my closest friends, today, 17 of them are dead. I'm not even telling you about all my friends that became alcoholics and junkies. They're a dime a dozen. The difference between them and me, I got help. They didn't. If I had given any one of you kids in this room a beautiful, beautiful puppy dog, and once a week you yelled and screamed at that puppy, how would it be like in 1 year? Scared, right? Every time you walked in, we'd be peeing all over you, right? Puppy dogs will pee on you when they're scared, right? Take the same puppy dog, you beat them once a week, what happens? They get vicious and mean. All right, it's money time. You guys want to win some money? Yeah. Do you want to win money? Yeah. All right, cool. I got lots of money. Hold on. I got a lot of money. There's one thing nice is I love to give out money. It's real, too. It ain't Monopoly money. All right. You notice, teachers, how every kid wakes up? Right now, even the back row kids are saying, all right, I'm ready, buddy. Now, teachers, do you want the kids to learn more in your classrooms, pass the tests? Pay them. These kids, I tell you what, you pay these kids and they learn a lot faster. They'll pass every test you give them when you pay them. Now, I got to say something about teachers. Kids, I got to say this about your teachers. Your teachers are very, very, very poor people. They really are, man. They're in poverty. The reason they became teachers and this is the big thing, they're sacrificing their lives to make a better life for you. They're actually they become teachers to make a difference in your lives. They're the heroes. Give them a round of applause. They are. Now, here's the deal. I'm going to ask you a question. You think you know the answer? Raise your hand. You get the answer right, you win money. Now, you notice I'm wearing my glasses right now? I was in Missouri a couple weeks ago. I thought I gave a kid a $1 bill. It ended up being a $100 bill. I just saw a kid run so fast, my lights were gone. Now, I am not that rich. You know what I'm saying? I got money, but not that rich, okay? So here's the deal. I'm going to ask you a question. You think you know the answer? Raise it. And if I call on you, you get it right, you win money. Cool? All right. Here, remember I was telling you all, you take a puppy dog, you beat it once a week, they get violent and mean. Here's a question for all you. You take a small boy or girl, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, and you call that kid stupid, dumb, and worthless enough times. What happens to that child? You're first. Give him a round of applause. He wins $1. Woo! They start believing it. Now, here's the next question. When a kid starts believing... Woo! When a kid starts believing they're stupid, dumb, and worthless, what happens to that kid next?
They get violent.
Give her a round of applause. She gets the answer. Now, I want you to pass it back, all right? Do not put it in your pocket. You didn't win. She won. So you got to pass it back, okay? Do not put it in your pocket. Man, don't make me jump on you, all right? Pass it back. All right, so you call a kid stupid, dumb, and worthless. They start believing it. And what happens next? They start acting it. By acting it, like she said, a lot of them get violent, bullying. A lot of them start doing lousy in school. That's when I can tell. Is when a kid is doing lousy in school, that usually happens in elementary school, they thought that they were stupid, dumb, worthless. That's why they're doing lousy in school, is they believed it. And then what happens in middle school is these kids stop caring. In middle school, for some of you in this room, you stop caring, if not sooner. And you know what happens when a kid stops caring about life? What happens to that kid next? They start using drugs and alcohol. Give them a round of applause. The kid wins. They start using. Now, here's the secret, kids. A lot of people use drugs and alcohol and they'll quit. But here's the secret. You give a kid that don't care about life, drugs and alcohol, you know what a kid figures out? I can numb myself so much, I don't have to deal with this garbage no more, huh? I can numb myself so much, I don't have to feel nothing. So here's the question. When a kid starts using drugs and alcohol to cover up their pain, what happens next? They get what? Yeah, they get A. It starts with an A. Give him a round of applause. They get addicted. That was worth $2, man. That was worth $2. Woo! That's your lucky day, man. They get addicted. And here's the deal. If they don't get help, they die young or they end up in prison. It all starts off with sexual, physical, and that verbal abuse is the #1 monster. I want y'all to do me a favor. I want y'all to think back when you're 3, 4, 5 years old. How many in this room had hopes and dreams when you were younger? May I see your hands? I want to be a teacher, counselor, nurse, doctor, attorney, Michael Jordan, Britney Spears. I'm sorry. All right, now I want y'all to do me another favor. How many in this room right now know somebody close to you? Could be your father, mother, brother, sister, boyfriend, girlfriend, best friend. Maybe it's you already. How many of you know somebody that gets high or drinks at least 4 or 5 days a week? Every one of you almost, huh? Now think of that person. When that person was 2, 3, 4 years old, how many thought, hey, when I get older, man, my hope, my dream in life is to become an alcoholic. Wow. Or I want to be a pothead. I mean, that's dumb, right? That's dumb. I want to challenge you kids. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. How many of you, when you were 2, 3, 4 years old, thought, hey, when I hit 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, I ain't going to care no more. I'm going to give 50% in school. I'm going to give 20. Nobody thinks that as a child. So my question always becomes what happened. See, let me tell you kids something. When you're giving 50% in school, normally that's what you're giving in life. You don't leave school and get happy. Have you noticed that? Unless you're taking happy pills, unless you're catching a buzz. Why do you think so many kids turn to drugs and alcohol? It's a safe way to avoid pain. The problem is the addiction, such a monster to stop. You know, you are born innocent. Everybody in this room was born innocent. Society has a way of beating us down. It wasn't your fault. If you've been sexually abused, man, do something about it at your age, please. If you've been physically abused, and I can look in some of your eyes, I can tell you didn't deserve it. Man, we're not animals, and no animal deserves a beating. A spanking is one thing, but no one deserves a beating. And the name calling y'all do with one another is pure insanity. Every one of you kids in this room are brilliant. Every one of you are smart. Now, I don't know if you guys believe in God or Buddha or Jehovah, or maybe you're Muslim, but let me tell you something. You're not put here to be an alcoholic. You're not put here to be a pothead. You're not put here to give 50%. You kids are put here for 2 reasons. Number 1 is to find your purpose in life. You all got a beautiful purpose. That's why you're here. And number 2 is to reach your magnificence. That's who you are. You know, when I was 18 years old, I graduated from John Marshall High School in Milwaukee on the north side. I couldn't even read a book. I had a 4th grade reading level when I graduated. When I was 33 years old, I was in therapy. I found out something that changed my whole life. I found out we all learn different. Remember at the beginning of this program, I was telling you all, when teachers talk to me, they can talk to me till they're blue in the face. By the next day, I'll forget what they said. And this young lady here gave me an airplane model with instructions with it. You guys ever see those from A to B to C to D? Within 1 hour, I'll smash that model. I've never put together a model in my life by reading instructions. How many in this room have ever read a 20-page history, a geography book? By the time you get to page 19, you forgot the first 17 pages. Now look around, that's normal, right? Or you study your butt off for tests, you go to school the next day, everything you read you forgot. You notice how fast I talk? No? How many in this room ever had a teacher that talks really slow and soft? Man, they drive me flipping nuts. It's like, well, everybody's looking at you, sir. They drive me nuts. It's like, would you hurry up and finish your sentence? I fall asleep in 5 minutes. I drive other people crazy. Can you believe that? Girl right here saying I'm one of them. You know how many kids come up to me and say, Ron, would you please slow it down so we understand you better? I'll look at these kids and say, can you please pick up your hearing? But if I watch my brother, you guys notice my brother right here? If I watch my brother right here put my Harley Davidson together and I'm watching him, bam, I learned by watching people. You know, I went back to college when I was 33 years old. I used to go up to teachers after class every day and say, I don't understand a word you're saying. Sounds Chinese, show me. And as soon as they show it to me on a piece of paper, and I'm watching him, my brain clicks in. I went from a 1-point average in high school to 3.5 in college just because I learned how to learn. You know what I find really weird? If you wake up in the morning thinking you're lazy or stupid or you're worthless, what's going to happen? You're going to struggle in life. You're going to have a hard time, but I'll make you a promise. If you wake up in the morning remembering how smart, how brilliant you are, you will be. It may take time, but I promise you, your thoughts always create reality. Hard to have a burning desire when you've been beaten down, isn't it? You want to be a doctor when you're older? You want to be a lawyer? You want to be an engineer? A principal of a high school? Social worker? Stay away from drugs and alcohol is my message. Every one of you kids in this room are smart. Every one of you are brilliant. Every one of you can do whatever you want this lifetime. It's your choice. You know, when I was 18 years old, I couldn't even read a book. I wrote this book, How to Be a Successful Criminal. This book's been endorsed nationwide by gang leaders, police officers, judges. If you're having a hard time in life, please read the book. It can save your life. I want to show you guys a couple pictures before I get out of here. Guys want to see some hot, sexy pictures? Oh, you've been waiting for that, haven't you? She says, finally, man. Yeah. This is what I looked like when I was 7. Somebody said no. Okay. This is what I looked like when I was 7 years old. Wasn't I hot? Wasn't I cutie pie? Wasn't I hot? I was a cutie pie. My little Bible, huh? Wasn't I cute? Now I'll show you what I looked like when I was 30 years old. A lot of people say I look a lot like Jesus in this picture. I hear it all the time. I can't believe it. Do I look like Jesus? Yes. And then some people say Charlie Manson. When I was 30 years old, I had over 30 mugshots taken of me. Kids, I'm not bragging about these days. These are the worst days of my life. This is why I hate gangs, drugs, and alcohol so bad. All my closest friends died from that garbage. When I was 33 years old, I finally went and got some help. Kids, you don't have to wait that long. Don't. If you're having problems, talk to somebody about it, please. You don't have to turn to drugs and alcohol because it ain't going to solve your problems. Kola, tankashala, wakantanka, aho metakriase, wupila migrich, washtelo washte, pila maye doksha. That was Spanish. What do you mean no it was? No comprendo? I was adopted Lakota many years ago. I just said a prayer for all of you. Kola means friends. Tankashala means grandfather, grandmother. Wakantanka means creator or God. Aho matakriase means we're all one. We're all the same. There's nobody smarter or dumber than any of you kids in this room. There is no such thing. We all have strengths. We all have weaknesses. Respect each other's cultures. Respect each other's differences. Most of all, respect yourselves. Wupula means thank you so much for having me today. It's been an honor being in front of every one of you kids. God bless. Thank you for caring and for watching this video. If you're interested in me coming to your school or speaking at your conference or doing professional development, contact me. For other resource materials, check out my website. Aho metakriase.